Hopefully everybody can hear me. The Safety Up program is a program that originated out of the city's strategic plan, the overall city strategic plan, and Captain Clays was on one of the committees that was discussing re-implementing the neighborhood watch program into the community. And one of the things that came out of that was a name, because as we looked at some of the circumstances surrounding Neighborhood Watch and what happened to it and why it kind of went away, we realized that there were a lot of restrictions that were required of a Neighborhood Watch program. Because it's a national program, they have all kinds of different restrictions and rules and requirements that you have to follow. For example, a few of them would be like, you could only have one block area. And in that one block area, there had to be a certain percentage of people actively participating in meetings, whether they had a monthly or quarterly. You had to have a certain threshold of people there, or you would lose that status as an active neighborhood watch group. We did not want to have all those restrictions, so we decided that we were going to come up with our own. Credit Captain Clays with coming up with the idea to come up with our own. And really, instead of reinventing the wheel ourselves, we kind of took the best of the different organizations that are out there, kind of made those our own. Bass Advertising assisted us in coming up with a name for the Neighborhood Watch program that we wanted to start. And the name that they came up with was Safety Up. And as you see, I don't know if you can see that sign very well. Terry, maybe Sergeant Iver will hold it up for you. That's the logo that they came up with, and that logo there is going to be the logo that will be in the neighborhood. The other thing that Captain Clays and I and some other people in the organization had discussed was that we really liked the Safety Up slogan and phrase, and so we kind of took it on to be part of all of our crime prevention efforts. They also created a logo for us, and I can't remember if I have it in the PowerPoint. I don't.
It was on your first slide.
Was it? There we go. That's the one there to the right is the Safety Up logo that we use for all of our children's crime prevention efforts that we have in the community. And we do a whole laundry list of things that we do with kids out in the community, everything from bike rodeos to stranger danger to fingerprinting to all kinds of things that we do in the community. And this logo is one that we're using. When it comes to our Safety Up program, we just finished our biannual training with the police department, where every officer goes through 2 days of training, and each one of the officers in the department had to suffer through, I say that jokingly, listening to me talk for a few hours on a couple different topics, one of which was the Safety Up program. And the reason that we dedicated that time to all the officers is because we want to remind them that this concept of team policing and community policing is not just a select few officers in the department, but it's really the responsibility of the entire organization. And so we wanted to make sure that they knew that I say we, but I'm just a patrolman. The command staff expects them to take ownership of the program, that they're expected to have some ownership and participation, and that will filter down to you through these Safety Up neighborhood groups that we want to start. And I have some folders, I think they're on that back table there. When a citizen decides that they want to start a Safety Up group in their neighborhood, or maybe in your commercial business or your apartment complex, all you have to do is call the crime prevention number. There's some brochures on each one of the tables that explain some of this information, but the number is in there, it's 279-6411. You would contact the crime prevention officer, which would be me. I will then filter your name and information to the team sergeants for the area that you live in. Those team sergeants will then decide which one of their officers, or themselves, or maybe both, will go out with one of those Safety Up neighborhood kits. It's a folder with a bunch of information. And they will sit down and discuss with you how you can get a neighborhood group started in your particular neighborhood. And inside that kit there will be all kinds of materials to help you do that. There'll be invitations, there's sample agendas, there's sign-up sheets with people's names and addresses and phone numbers and all that stuff that you can compile to share information with your neighbors. And really, we know that the more you're involved, the better we can police the city. because we can't be everywhere at once. We don't live a lot of times in the communities that we're working in, the areas that we're working in. So you know the neighborhoods better than we do. You know when a car doesn't belong. You know when somebody's suspicious in the neighborhood. And hopefully when we build those partnerships, people will be more comfortable contacting the police department because you know the officers that are going to be coming and handling those calls from meetings like this and from these neighborhood meetings that we'll have, along with the neighborhood groups that are out there. Again, if you have a business or an apartment complex, really anybody is able to start the Safety Up neighborhood program. It doesn't require any percentage of participation. If you're the only person on your block that wants to have a group, then start a group. Contact us, we'll start it, we'll bring you the information, we'll try and assist you in maybe soliciting some partners in your area. But if nobody else decides that they want to be a part of it, that's fine. We'll still meet with you, we'll still get information to you. We'll put up these signs in your neighborhood. We also have some window clings that are basically the same logo that people can put in their windows, on their doors, of their homes, their vehicles if they wanted to try and send a message that the people in this neighborhood are taking ownership of the neighborhood, and if you do anything that's illegal or suspicious, we're going to know and we're going to be working with the police department to get rid of it. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Any questions? Yes.
So if somebody sees something, they go to this person and tells them the information. I guess what I'm getting at is, are you going to have is it going to be a 24-hour type program, or is it for an instance of business might only be open certain hours during the day?
Yeah, if somebody sees something suspicious occurring in the neighborhood, we want them to call the non-emergency number or 911. The idea behind the Safety Up neighborhood groups is just so that neighbors get to know neighbors. We had an incident that occurred in Morningside, I think it was about a year ago. It was shortly after I first became the crime prevention officer. And there was a mother and a daughter who lived in their home alone, and a relative came and basically burglarized their home while that relative knew they were going to be away. And the neighbors watched it. But the neighbors had no idea that that person didn't belong there because they had seen that person in the past, and they had no idea. So they didn't bother to call until a couple days later they saw a couple police cars in front of the house. They went over and talked to the neighbor. The neighbor said, yeah, somebody broke in and stole everything. And they said, well, we saw who did it. It was the other day. It was during the day. So those are the types of things that we would hope that by neighbors getting to know neighbors, they will feel more like they want to call in when they see things that are suspicious. Does that answer your question, or did I misunderstand your question?
No, I think that's probably it. I just don't see, I guess personally, a whole lot of difference between the PAC meetings here that we have and something like this.
This is just designed to get to more people in smaller groups. That's all it is. Anything else? Yes.
Okay, I've shared this amongst the neighborhood networks.
Okay.
I'm gonna totally push this program because, as any police officer in this room knows, my children overreacted to a situation a couple weeks ago, and my children ran 8 blocks, crying their eyes out, screaming, "Somebody help me, call 911," because they thought, they got scared of somebody. Not one person in our neighborhood helped them. Nobody stopped to ask them if they were okay. Nobody even picked up the phone and called even a non-emergency number and said, "Hey, we just saw these kids running down the street crying and screaming."
Right.
So I think this program needs to be put out there to not only teach children about stranger danger, but to teach adults what to do if they see children like that. Because I understand that people are scared to approach kids because of, parents getting upset or this or that. But it was very, very bothersome that in the small area we live in, and the fact that afterwards, one of the neighbor gals acknowledged the fact that she saw my children running down the street crying and screaming and didn't do anything. So I think as a neighborhood, as an entire city, we need to, as adults, take responsibility for kids that aren't ours. If we see them running down the street crying, "Somebody help me, call 911," no matter what the situation is.
And hopefully by getting groups together and getting neighborhoods, you know, together, we will accomplish, you know, where people would call. It's certainly different than when I grew up. When I grew up, you know, it didn't matter if somebody saw me doing something wrong, man, my parents knew about it in 5 minutes, right? And if, you know, if my parents weren't there to give me a whipping, the neighbor gal was. So it was like, you know, and sometimes I got it twice, by her and by my mom.